Market rebound failing here in the afternoon. Can the bulls get something going Monday, or are we looking at a Black Monday, or rather Black Tuesday scenario here as markets shed gains into the close? It is Friday, the 13th, February 13th, 2026. If you guys like the video, you can give it a like, comment your thoughts. I know you guys will be in there today. Subscribe to the channel, and you can find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Again, don't forget we got a sale. I believe that ends on the 27th. I believe so. Week after OPEX, 60% off first month active trader, 30% off of swing trades. Let's get into it here. Anyway, so markets here down to the 680 handle, and right now this is giving a very good, a bit of a bearish feel here into the close. That said, we're just down 17 basis points, so currently it's essentially flat. I talked pre-market about QQQ LG1 600 going right there, SPY 680, and markets here coming back in. This, in the pre-market video this morning also, as well as the short on Carnivore Trades. Again, if you're not subscribed to that, you're missing out here because, again, we cover all this stuff doing live streams in the morning as well as the shorts for these recaps here. But anyway, we talked about these levels, and the levels are really good here. So I said this morning, like, watch 68.60. If we break above that, you got 72. We hit that this morning. I'll flip to my other. Yeah, this is a little bit cleaner here. We hit that this morning, pulled back, retested, broke out, pulled back, broke out, and then we went to 95. We talked about that. We squeeze there, we go to 95. If we get above 95, we get a mega rally. Bears stepped in right here at 95, so no dice there. I talked about the 685 area as well in the short video. Obviously no dice. It's the same area, so like 68.85 we'll say. And we're getting a rejection here. The angle of the rally, we actually talked about this in the trading room earlier, actually, for a possible short at this level. But yeah, the angle of the rally kind of gave it away, right? Like, it's not a V shape, it's just kind of more of a 45-degree angle. That said, if we were to put in, like, there was almost kind of, it's a little bit sloppy now. I suppose it's possible over the weekend, which we'll talk about weekend stuff in a second, but it's kind of sloppy now. But you almost kind of had like if we put in a higher low here, you could have had like an inverse head and shoulder. There still could be one, but it's a little sloppier. But the angle there, not the greatest. That said, if we were to like rally up here, there's no air down here, right? So that's what my concern was, and I was like laughing about this morning in the room when we were, after the live stream. We were in the trading room. So we had this sweep of the low here, and you're wondering, so there's 68.07. We had a sweep of the low, and said, there it goes. There's your long if you want it right there. As soon as we pop back above that. And why is this so funny? Because you guys remember, if you guys go back to exactly 1 week ago, Friday, I came in here and I said, this is a ridiculously good squeeze, but there's air here at 68.60 to 70 and 68.15 to 20. And we hit that low a couple of times overnight, 20, and then we went down to 68.07. Why is 68.07 important? It's a 786 here. And the low of the day was like literally a point away. It might actually be, if I actually lined it up perfectly, exact. So we went right there, swept it, popped up, and there's no air, right? So that's your, if there's a structural positive for bulls here, that's it. You got a lot of work to do here, but if you can get through this, the reason why you're going to have a mega squeeze is because this is air on the downside, right? So it works both ways here. That said, we're going into the weekend. We're soft here, and you can see investors are not keen to really hold longs here. Implied volatilities is still very high right now, and you can see the VIX trying to creep back above 20. So it looks like it's going to try and close above that, barring a little dip here. At the end of the day, I would still say for the most part, below 20, 20 to 25, is still a put sellers are mostly in control here, but they are giving back a little bit of ground above 20. So you can see as soon as we got below that, we had a nice little continued rally there. and markets now pulling back here, and VIX just slowly inching up. Implied volatility, it's high. You can see VVIX here up 2.33%, and even just an hour or so ago, you know, it was only down, I think, like I was looking at this like an hour ago, right, 110.3, so it was only down like 2%, whereas the VIX was, you know, the VIX itself was down much more. It was down like 5%. So we're still seeing that appetite for put buying. Like, here's the risk, and I've been saying this, you know, repeatedly, but the reason I'm saying to not hold short into the close is this market's at risk for news with implied volatility as high as it is. Not saying you can't short the market. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to be a perma-bull. I'm just saying I wouldn't really like to hold short into, especially a 3-day weekend, with news catalysts, you know, coming, right? So we have, you know, Netanyahu at the White House right now. From what I hear, I've said this many times, but I think they're going to do a deal here. Maybe they don't. Maybe something bad happens, but you know, and that's the risk to the downside. I don't really see it from oil though. Oil down 20 cents. So, you know, if oil was breaking back above 66, you know, I would totally say for sure. You know, we had the move earlier, or last year in June, and you could see the run up ahead of that, right? Notice how it's running up here, and then boom, that gap. So usually oil's a tell here, and precious metals here. We talked about gold earlier. Now, decent rebound here. I gave that out in the live stream this morning, and yeah, it's held up. You could have, you know, day traded that for at least like 30 points, which is pretty good on gold, 30 to 50 points. Silver also holding up at 77, just didn't quite really follow through there, but I think a lot of this here is, and a lot of yesterday was precious metals volatility seeping over into the equity markets. The reason why I also talk about implied volatility is it's super high and we're still inside of this range, 6,800 to 7,000, right? So again, there is weekend risk here. I know the market's down, bears are in control, but there is weekend risk to the upside. We'll probably close below 680 and above 6,800. That's my guess. We'll probably close below 600 as well on the Qs. So I'll be watching for a couple of things there after the bell. A few other things I find interesting here too is we flip over to the weekly. I'll be watching this at 6 o'clock, but yeah, like, yes, COTs here. I mean, banks starting to cover last week. You know, hedge funds getting a little bit less long as is retail. But what really gets me is the NQ. Banks already like getting long here, hedge funds getting more short, and retail more closer to long, but they did reduce a little bit. We'll see what that looks like later tonight. So a lot of people are kind of looking at this like Vixpiration thing, and again, it's important to understand, like, okay, there's this buzzword here, like Vanna Charm Week, oh, Vixpiration, but like it's important to understand like what it actually is. If implied volatility is already high, like if we're selling off into Vixpiration, for instance, it doesn't mean that we have to sell off more. It doesn't mean that risk opens up, right? If the market's sufficiently hedged in general, you know, if there's a lot of fear out there, the institutions are going to hedge for every expiry. So it's not as if like, and where it becomes risky is if the market's just floating up, right, into OPEX like we were last year. Right, we had made a new all-time high like 2 days before that. There's your Vixpiration, boom. I also just find it hard to believe that, you know, just with everybody kind of talking about it, dude, I just can't see them doing this. If this happens, it'll happen, right? Now, I'm not saying anything can't happen. I'm not saying the market can't go down. I can make a bear case for you if you want, and I'll do that in a second if you want. But dude, this pattern's the exact same thing, like 2 years in a row. That is extremely. I've never seen it personally. So just some food for thought here. We could just stay in this range too. And we talked about, you know, these, and these will do well if the market goes down too. So you don't have to be picking sides here. End of the day, we're holding the 100. That's important. The Q's obviously weaker. They're trying to hold on to the flat line now. And yeah, move down here would take you down to the 200 MA. Bear case is the same bear case I made last week, which is that we never, and that 618 held there on the NQ. But yeah, on the QQQ, we never really finished out that 200 MA tag or the NQ measured move, right? Got close, but no cigar. Another thing I find hilarious is semiconductors still leading. I've never seen like a major market drawdown with that happen. Yeah, I know there's a double top, I get it, but I'm saying like relatively speaking, this should be weaker than the rest of the market. And watching IGV too. I mean, it's not like there aren't shorts out there. I showed you the XLK short interest yesterday. I can show you right now. Borrow rates, right? Spike, and this is as recent as of today and yesterday. Short shares available. It's going down. It's on SPY. So it's not like there aren't, you're saying like, oh, everybody's like super bullish. I don't really think that. I think if anything, I don't know, for super bears, we're at least neutral. Talked about AI yesterday, big jump in bears too. And AAIM, they've been selling for a while, so they've been fighting the rally. Saying a lot here, but again, watch the video on dispersion I did yesterday too. I mean, like, look at the Russell here. This is the other thing too. Like, this is why I think it's just it's noise here, right? Like 6,800 to 7K. If this was true risk off, don't you think small caps would be going down? Like the least stable sector, the least profitable sector, if it really was truly risk off. And I know XLF, we'll point to XLF, and yeah, you're right, this is a lower high confirmed. We talked about that failed breakout, a few weeks ago, so that's not good. But I think, I really do think a lot of it's dispersion. Why is that? Because look at freaking KRE. It's above above all the moving averages, right? You're going to close above, this little rejection here, right? It's above the 20 week. 70, 25, 70, 25. We're going to close, above 2024's all-time high weekly. So, HYG, right? It's green today. I didn't really have any problems. So a lot of mixed signals out there. Transports, right? We talked about this too. They got hit finally yesterday, still holding trend. It doesn't mean they can't go down, but just the action in general, right? Breaking out of a 4-year base. So very interesting market here. QQQ, yep, still under pressure. I would just say I'm just going off of ES right now. And yeah, that line in the sand is right there, 6895. If we get some Trump stuff coming over the weekend, I'd expect that to be, that could set off a squeeze towards 6,900 at the 50 MA on SPX, which is right around 6920 ES. I usually use QQQ, obviously, but NQ, I just like to use the futures when we have high volatility. 25. Got this spot here. I'll use a 4-hour. So I don't have it marked, but yeah, like 24.9 and then 25.1. Big levels up there. 25.2, we know that's a big spot as well. And this trend line here is up sloping. What's that? That's the bull market trend line. Oh, we got to go back 3 years, 4 years, right? And that's up sloping, so it's going to start to coincide with that breakdown to round trip that. Anyway, I know I'm spending a lot of time on here. There's a lot going on today. Russell, yeah, trend is still up. Dow, trend is still up. It's above the 20-day. SMH, holding the 20-day, it's green. IGV, holding on. Again, I think this should bottom out in the next week or so. Transport's getting a bounce. TLT. I did sell my TMF runner. This should get to $90. Somebody asked me to go over this trade here, and so I can give you the backdrop for it. It started off as just like I like the chart, and I actually did this with the day trading room too. So it wasn't even like this wasn't anything. It wasn't supposed to be anything super serious. I think it was right here. I got in, yeah, I got in right here in the morning. We day traded it, took a quick scalp, and then I put on another trade, a smaller size to swing it. Had one down day, and then it just took off. I did think that TLT could go to 90. I just didn't think it would be this week. But part of the reason for that is, I liked the chart. I thought ZB was holding up. We kept getting bad news, like stagflationary type news, and this refused to make lower lows, right? And it kept bidding. Even yesterday, the jobs data, all it did was have an inside hammer basically, and then today CPI and it's resilient, right? It's jobless claims yesterday were hotter, not by much, but they were hotter. It's going up on bad news. The bigger overarching picture that kind of led me to this also, more macro based, but more in the positioning stance. You guys know how much stagflation, I don't think that's, I think economies they're going to debase, right? I'm not in the deflation camp, but I think everybody is in that camp. And at some point, it's just, you're going to have a counter cyclical move if too many people are on one side of the boat. And I see this stagflationary data keep coming in, and ZB keeps rallying anyway. So that tells me that there's too many people on that side of the boat. So that was the basis for that trade, and that's why I said there's convexity in it. But I do think it stalls out at 90. Would I buy it on a pullback? Possibly. I do think we could see a bigger contraction-ish type move later this year, but I still think that would be cyclical as well. A lot of information in this video here. XHP up 2%, so that's fine. And again, XHP, I think this is sniffing out that, it's liking the TLT rally. I talked about this pattern a few months ago. I should have bought it and just held on it. IYR, new 52-week closing high. We mentioned XLF, KRE, XPD bouncing right where we said it needed to. Talked about oil. It's just not giving off like crack up boom vibes yet. I do like the chart, but I just don't see weekend risk here for that. XLE up 34 cents. XOP looking for some consolidation here, then I like that. OIH, another 52-week closing high, new 52-week closing high. My favorite. Speaking of favorites, I actually took a gain on Pfizer today too. Got to my $28 target. Actually, I was looking for $27.50, but basically got to 28. So another player there. Bought that after earnings. XLP, another 52-week closing high, just for reference too. All right, dollar, yeah, dollar's not doing anything. So bears have control here, unless we start to pop up. Got to clear 98. Gold, I like the price action today. Got to clear this trend line here, but I mean, it held up 2%. On a CPI day. Silver is still weaker. It needs a little bit more. I think another green day, another close above the 50-day. I think this will be ready to rally. But Tuesday will be pivotal. Platinum looks a little bit better than palladium. Actually, I take that back. Now palladium looks better. It didn't this morning though. And then copper here, still got the higher lows here, but it wouldn't take much to make that fail at this point. It is flagging here on the weekly, but it's also at an extreme, so sometimes those can fail. Lastly, Bitcoin. This is kind of what got us playing bull this morning. Yeah, I mean, if you look at IBIT, it's like a gap and go basically. I mean, that's a gap and go trend day, full stop. And so Bitcoin, held up. Again, watch this over the weekend. If it starts to perk above 69.70, gets a higher low. I mean, I would assume that signals positive things for equities, right? Bitcoin's or Sol and ETH looking about the same. All right, market set to close here. Let's see if they knock it down below 680. Yeah, at the end of the day, like it definitely leaves a like bearish taste, bitter taste for bulls to not follow through there. I knew that was going to be resistance, but at the end of the day, it's a pause candle. So right now, short term, bears have the ball. You do have a higher low here potentially, but bears have the ball. We'll just say below 686 on the spiders. 6880 SPX ES 95 6895. So, anyways, longer video today, but it's Friday. A lot going on, important stuff to cover. You guys take care. Have a great 3-day weekend. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys all next week.